Greetings in the name of Yahusha Mashiach, Melech of Yasharal, Kohen forever, according to the order of Melchizedek. All esteem, honor, and glory unto our Lua, Yahuwah. My name is Mikael Shalomo. This is MELEK Shelemoh Trading. It's the 3rd of April, 2025. And let me just pull up this risk disclosure. I have my bookmap alerts going off in the background, so if this covers the speech of the risk disclosure, just please read along, right?
Tracking. Iceberg ESL. Whoa. Stop run ESL wipeout. Bang. Absorption ES
General
buyers at
disclosure.
$5,495.
All MELEK Shelemoh
Boom.
Trading
Sweep
LLC
ES buyers at
materials, information,
$5,400.
and presentations are for educational purposes only and should not be considered specific investment advice nor recommendations. Risk disclosure. Trading futures, equities, and digital currencies involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
Boom. Sweep
All right,
ES sellers
so
at
I'm going to do a little technical analysis
$5,498.75.
over the entire market just really quickly before we
Boom.
open.
Sweep
So
ES
we
sellers
have a
at
sell-off in the US dollar. We broke down from
$5,496.05.
the monthly
Bang.
floor pivot of
Absorption ES
1288,
buyers at
and this is the dollar index from the FCM,
$5,496.05.
right? So it's not the Dixie, it's the FCM US dollar, right? So floor pivot S1 on the monthly is at
Boom. Sweep
1288. We
ES
broke
sellers
below
at
that. We have another support level of
$5,497.75.
12831.
Tracking. Iceberg ES
Floor
sell.
pivot S2
Boom.
and
Sweep
Camaria
ES sellers at
S5 at 12823.
$5,493.75.
All right, let me just take that off. Right, so floor pivot S1 on the monthly is 12888. Floor pivot S2 12831, and Camaria S5 next support is 12824. Right, so we have the sell-off on the US dollar. The euro is breaking out. We push up to basically Camaria R4 at 1.11268, and we got like a wick rejection up there at floor pivot R1 at 1.10963. Right, so breakout on the euro and the 6E euro futures. Let's see where we're at from a Camaria perspective. Let's drop down here. Let's go back to the weekly. So on the weekly chart, we already broke above Camaria R6 on the monthly, so that's really strong. And from a pivot level, we already broke out of floor pivot R4 at 1.0902. So going back into this this consolidation or little auction right here, so we're retesting these levels. We're basically retesting where sellers took control here at 1.12140, right? We're getting a little rejection there, a little wick rejection. Let's see, on Bitcoin, we have this accumulation structure here. We have the selling climax, the secondary stop down here at 76,605, right? So we're basically looking like we're about to do a thermal shake, right? Which will be a break below these lows, and then we'll start moving back up, right? Let's see here. Let's look at the currency strengths. So on the daily chart, we have the Swiss really strong, the Euro really strong, Japanese yen really strong, NZD is pushing up now, GBP is pulling back from its highs, CAD is kind of neutral, OR is dropping down with a little bounce, and US dollar is all the way down here, right? So let's see here, MUB. So this is muni bonds. Let's take a look at that real quick. Right, so we got bonds pushing down to the lows. Monthly floor pivot S3 104.66, right? So we're basically pushing down on the lows, right? We got some way to go again still. We have room to drop even more. Floor pivot S4 for the monthly is at 104.22, right? We're getting a wick right there at floor pivot S3. So it's looking like they want to start pushing back down again, right? So what do we have here now? We have the VIX. VIX today is at 2717, pushing above daily floor pivot R4 at 26.64. So really strong VIX, really volatile. The rest of these haven't really opened yet. Let's see this one. Yeah, this is the 90-day Delta CBOE. This is the 9-day CBOE, and this is the CBOE VIX Volatility Index. So this is a volatility index of the volatility index, right? So let's see here. Go into the channel chart on the ES, right? So we're in the middle of the channel. We're pushing past the mid-range point at basically 55.2650, right? So we're pushing down. This is a market profile right here. So we're at the lows of the market profile. The value area low for this market profile is 55.7375, right? So we're below the value area low. Let's see here. We're gonna go to the Wyckoff accumulation structure on the ES. So I had a prior shakeout here labeled at around 55.3350. So moving the shakeout down, or the spring, right? Let's move this here, right? So the shakeout now is at this level right here, 54.81. Let me just make sure. Yeah, 54.8075, right? Or 54.81 roughly, right? So that's the new spike low, or that's the thermal shakeout so far. I'm thinking we should shake out a little more, right? We could come down to like the 5400s, and then probably that'll look structurally sound as a shakeout, and then we start moving back up if the accumulation is taking place and we go bullish, right? If we don't go bullish, and this is basically a bear flag, right? Then we have a lot to go. Hold on, let me just show you the structure. Right, so if this is a bear flag, then we're going to break low, retest, and head south, right? So that's putting 5120, the 5200s in play, right? Just for this month, the structure could play out like this if this is a bear flag. If it's a Wyckoff accumulation structure and this shakeout holds, or we get a little more shakeout, we should push back up, right? So we'll see which one takes place. Who knows? Then we have the volume, the VWAP chart. Let's see. This is anchored from the beginning of the session. So these levels here are lower deviation bands. We're at this is extended, I believe, from the beginning of the year. So this is a second lower deviation. All of these are lower deviations here, second lower deviations anchored from different points. And this here is supposed to be a support zone on a longer time frame. I believe this is from the beginning of the year. So looking for maybe a bounce at 54.7875 or somewhere abouts. We are getting little spikes off of these off of this lower deviation for the, let's see, this is for the week on the weekly. So we're extended down to these extremes. We are getting some bounces off of it, but let's see if it holds, right? Let's go to the volume profile for the week. let's see here, we're gonna extend that one more hour, 2 more. All right, so we're at the bottom of the profile for the week. Low volume node 5481. Let's see if we get some buyers down here at this level, or if we get a lack of participation for more selling, we should get some buyers pushing us back up, rotating back to the VPOC level at 5641.75, right? Let's see on the pivot chart, we're at the weekly Camaria S4, a significant support level. Floor pivot S2 at 54.8475. Camaria S4 is at 54.94, right? So a significant support level here. This is basically like a copper, it's a double pivot zone, but I call it a copper top zone, right? Because it's on a weekly level. Instead of calling it a copper pivot, I call it a copper top. But anyway, we have this resistance here, support turn resistance, floor pivot S1, Camaria S3 on the weekly, 55.43.50 and 55.58.25. So if we get a retest here, we could sell off from this level. That's kind of like a bigger time frame 360 fire strategy, and we could do that, right? We could also break down here, retest it, and do that, right? But if it holds, then we push back up to this level. If we push above, this holds right here, then we could push back up to like weekly VPOC and stuff like that, right? So that's really the setup I'm looking at on the weekly pivots. Let's see here, we're gonna go to the daily. Right, so from a daily perspective, we're already at Camaria S6 on the daily, right? That's at, let's see here, 54.99.25, 54.99.75, right? These are anchored VWAPs from the beginning of the ETH session. This here is anchored from the London session open. So we have these lower deviations here creating some support right now, right? These second lower deviations are creating some support here at Camaria S6. Next support here is going to be 54.62.75 floor pivot S2. And if we really start losing it, it's 54.11. Now on a daily time frame, let me go over here to the daily so I could explain these green rectangles here. So let me just take off the pivots. Right, so I'm pulling this across from where we had buyers, right? You see there's a big buying wick, so it's a lot of support here. We had buyers here. We're testing this first support level here right now. If we break out of this down here at 54.65.50, then we're running into more support here. And the base of that is going to be around 53.05, right? So we have room for more downside movement. So let's see what happens here. Let's see, going back to the daily, let's see what kind of setup I'm looking at here. So basically, I'm looking at a 360 fire strategy with a retest of floor pivot S1. Maybe the overnight mid or like the VWAP levels of these deviations. Camaria S5 looking for a pushback up and a short, right? If we start holding above S1, right? If we push up above S1, retest, could go bullish from here, right? But as you can see, there's a resistance, the copper top resistance here from the weekly levels. So that might be short-lived as well. We might just retest this area here at the London session open where they spiked, and we could get a sell-off there again, which was basically the ETH open at 55.50.50, right? So basically it's a it's a 365 setup, so I'm looking at if we do get support, then I could take something like a bowling green strategy around here at floor pivot S1 and back up to, let's see if we get, like, this is overnight VPOC here. If we get along from here, we have about, I would say, roughly 20 points until resistance. So that'll be kind of tricky as well, you know. So longs will be kind of tricky, but we have to see what kind of if buyers have aggression. If they have aggression, then we could go with the flow, right? All right, y'all. So that's my setups for today, and it's MELEK Shelemoh Trading, and you'll trade safe and shalom.